You can listen to The Front on your smart speaker every morning. To hear the latest episode, just say, "Play the news from The Australian."
From The Australian, here's what's on the front. I'm Kristen Amiot. It's Wednesday, July 17. The International Monetary Fund isn't optimistic about Australia's growth prospects. It's downgraded the nation's economic outlook, and it's warned stubborn inflation could see households hit with further interest rate hikes in the coming months. America will drag Australia into a new world war. That's the warning from Senator David Shoebridge. The Greens defence spokesperson says his party will push to cut defence spending and shred the government's nuclear submarine scheme in hopes of keeping the country out of a new global conflict. That story from our exclusive series on the Greens is live right now at theaustralian.com.au. Donald J. Trump is officially the Republican Party's nominee for president, and he's named a risky running mate as his second in charge. Just days after an attempt was made on the former president's life at a rally in Pennsylvania, Trump has changed his tune. But how long will it last? That's today's episode.
Today, people look at me, at my job and my Ivy League credentials, and assume that I'm some sort of genius, that only a truly extraordinary person could have made it to where I am today.
That's the Ohio Senator JD Vance reading an excerpt from his New York Times best-selling book, Hillbilly Elegy.
With all due respect to those people, I think that theory is a load of bullshit.
Released in 2016, Hillbilly Elegy is a memoir about growing up poor in America's Appalachian Mountains.
I am not a senator, a governor, or a former cabinet secretary.
That changed in early 2023 when JD Vance was sworn in as a senator in the 118th United States Congress.
So I didn't write this book because I've accomplished something extraordinary. I wrote this book because I've achieved something quite ordinary, which doesn't happen to most kids who grow up like me.
On Tuesday, this happened.
That announcement just made. Former President Donald Trump announcing he has chosen Ohio U.S. Senator JD Vance as his running mate on his Truth social media platform just within the last hour here.
Cameron Stewart is the Australian's chief international correspondent. He's in Wisconsin for the Republican National Convention, where JD Vance was announced as Donald Trump's running mate. Cam, many Australians will know JD Vance, the author, but tell me, what do we know about JD Vance, the politician?
Well, we don't know an enormous amount in the sense that he was only elected to the Senate in 2023, so he's only been a senator for 18 months, so really not very long at all, but he has been very outspoken on issues. He's been very much a Trump ally, a MAGA warrior, if you like. He's taken quite hardline positions on abortion choice, on border security, especially on Ukraine. He very much opposes US assistance for Ukraine. He's quite an isolationist. He's very conservative on family values and issues like that. He's very much a Trump acolyte, if you like. He's not a different type of Republican, which is unusual because when you choose a running mate, you usually go for someone who's a bit different to make your whole ticket a bit of a broad church. But Donald Trump hasn't done that in this case, and I think that's probably a fairly high-risk decision that he's made.
JD Vance and Donald Trump haven't always been on the same page.
Yes, you're right. Certainly in 2016, JD Vance was very critical of Donald Trump. He said that he would be America's Hitler. He said he was an opioid on society. He was very, very critical. He said he was never Trumper, and it certainly didn't look like he was ever going to be a fan of Donald Trump. But about 2018, Vance started to soften his view. And then in 2020, he said, "I'm wrong. Trump, you've been a great president." And then, of course, he wanted to get elected to the Senate. And he apologized for his previous criticisms of Trump. And Trump came to the party. Trump backed him. And so it's been a journey for both men, I think. But I think that Vance has been so outspoken in the last couple of years in support of Trump. He really is one of his biggest and loudest allies. And so whatever angst there was between the two, I think is long gone.
Last weekend, the presidential race was fundamentally altered when 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks opened fire on Donald Trump at a pre-convention rally in Pennsylvania.
He's going down! On you! Ready? Move! Up! Move! Go!
In the days since, Donald Trump has restyled himself as America's great unifier. So what does that mean for Trump 2.0?
Well, all of America is looking at this question. I mean, it's a fascinating concept. Donald Trump has a genuine near-death experience. And within 48 hours, to the Republicans, he says, calm down, we're going to be unifiers here. But Donald Trump's whole modus operandi as a politician has been an us and them idea. That's what he does. He's very good at the politics of grievance. And I just find it hard to imagine that for the next 3.5 months before the next election, that Donald Trump is not going to be Donald Trump, that he's going to be a kinder, gentler, unifying soul. I just don't think that that is him, and I don't think he'll be able to keep doing that for very long. So my guess would be this is a very temporary thing. I think we will see Trump back to his loudest, roaring best soon.
And what does the addition of JD Vance to this equation mean for the November election?
Vance is such a MAGA type of politician that he will appeal to Trump supporters, but he probably won't appeal hugely to those people who aren't Trump supporters. And what Trump chose not to do was choose, say, Marco Rubio, one of the other contenders, that would have appealed to the Hispanic vote. And as you say, Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which would have appealed to the African-American vote, or even Nikki Haley, which of course would have appealed to women. So Trump he's shown enormous confidence, if not hubris, in his decision here. He's basically saying, my party is the party of MAGA. This is my running mate. We will win regardless. But if Trump does not win in November, now he is certainly the clear front runner at the moment, but if he does not win in November, I think this decision will be looked at by many commentators as the reason why.
The Republican National Convention runs until Thursday, with the focus on the economy on day one.
And there will be a different theme every day for the convention. Today's theme will be Make America Wealthy Once Again.
Cam, there's still, as you said, a few days of the Republican National Convention to go. You were there. What was the vibe like, and what are you expecting to see for the rest of the week?
The first night was such a piece of political theatre. Trump was not on the schedule. He turned up on the screen with his right ear bandaged, and the roar was absolutely deafening. It was like the MCG on grand final day.
Please welcome the next president of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
I mean, it's really interesting how truly the Republican faithful adore him. It was just one of those things. He really didn't do anything except walk in, smile, wave, and then walk out. But it was just really powerful political theatre. And this is the sort of stuff that makes him really popular amongst his fans. And now what we're going to see for the rest of the convention is a series of really interesting speeches. Nikki Haley is due to speak tomorrow night. Of course, she was the person that Trump vanquished for the primary. It's interesting she's coming in to speak. I think that's a fascinating decision. It shows that the Republicans are trying to unify themselves. It's going to be an incredible week. And the interesting thing is that this has actually reduced the focus briefly on Joe Biden. However, I think once this Republican convention finishes this week, we will switch straight back to the problems that Joe Biden has.
Coming up, what Donald Trump's big day means for the Democrats. Subscribers to The Australian are first to hear reporting and analysis from our correspondents in the United States. Join us at theaustralian.com.au. It's a lot cheaper than running a presidential campaign. We'll be back after this break. A little over a month from now, on August 19, the Democrats will descend on Chicago for their party's national convention. But where Donald Trump was basically a sure thing, who the Democrats will name as their nominee is less clear. Calls for the incumbent, Joe Biden, to step aside have mounted in recent weeks after a string of gaffes caused many to question his fitness for the top job.
I've said before, Russia will not prevail in this war. And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. You can beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
But there are also concerns about the ability of the current Vice President, Kamala Harris, to defeat Donald Trump in the November election. Here's Cameron Stewart.
Well, the great mystery for the Democratic convention is who will be the nominee. Biden, of course, in theory, should be the nominee, but really, if the Democrats are going to make a change, and I think there is still a lot of pressure within the Democratic Party for Biden to step down. We're just not seeing it right now because of the Republican convention this week. But I think that they will have to put that pressure on before the Democratic convention. Whoever gets nominated at that convention, I think, will tackle Donald Trump in November. So these are the crucial couple of weeks for the Democrats to make up their mind, to sort it out. But I think the next few weeks could throw up any sort of situation. We really don't know. It's a fascinating time in American politics.
Cameron Stewart is the Australian's chief international correspondent. Come back to the front tomorrow to hear all the action from the Australian's Global Food Forum happening today in Brisbane. And you can keep up to date with all the nation's best journalism anytime at theaustralian.com.au.